We now have a panel session on the topic Challenges and Scope of Promoting Festival Films in SCO Countries. We are honored to have amongst us, and let me extend a warm welcome for today's panelists. Our first panelist, let me start by introducing Ms. Assel Yrys, producer, founder of Amelie Entertainment and head of International Department of State Center for Support of National Cinema in Kazakhstan. Ms. Assel is the alumni of the New York Film Academy, Los Angeles, USA, and she has maintained the highest standards of performance, monitoring, and management in a variety of programs and projects globally. Can we have the AV, please?
Kazakhstan has enormous potential. After adopting the film law in 2019, there has been great interest from foreign film companies. The law prescribes a rebate, return on investment for foreign film producers in the amount of 30%. This is vital and will help Kazakhstan emerge as a serious contender in the film market. The new law stimulates development of national cinema and makes investment in the film industry even more attractive. Kazakhstan may become interesting for foreign filmmakers largely because of its spectacular natural landscapes. There are many beautiful locations throughout the country where films could be shot. What you see above the water is traces of a sunken forest. The majestic green giants are like the guards of a lake. It looks like time just stopped here. 5 million years ago, the earth was covered in water, the ocean region here. As if abandoned on Mars, said British extreme traveler and staffer who hosts the show on Discovery Channel. Cherry Canyon, which has a history that goes back 12 million years, is considered to be a brother of the famous Grand Canyon in America. Once upon a time, there was a huge inlet lake here, which eventually dried up and left behind another miracle of Kazakhstan. One of the episodes from the famous series Marco Polo, produced by Netflix, was shot here. Low shooting costs, professional, reliable film teams, modern and safe working environment make this country so special. It seems that Kazakhstan is on the verge of becoming a new big player in the film and television market.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I welcome our second panelist, Mr. Sunil Doshi, CEO, Alliance Media and Entertainment Private Limited. Mr. Sunil has worn many hats in his 2-decade-long film career. He has launched numerous successful TV shows such as Satyameva Jayate in 2012, Coffee with Karan in 2004, and Kaun Banega Crorepati in the year 2000. He has been creative producer of many critically acclaimed feature films. He runs one of India's most trusted talent management agencies and has founded 2 highly successful production companies. Ladies and gentlemen, our third panelist, please join me as I welcome our third panelist, Mr. Ashwani Kumar Sharma, distributor and buyer of Impact Films. Mr. Ashwani is the leading buyer and distributor of English and foreign language films in Indian subcontinent. Mr. Ashwani is the top buyer and distributor of English and foreign language movies in the Indian subcontinent. They have released a number of Oscar and award-winning titles, including Parasite by Bong Joon-ho. Our fourth panelist for the day, please join me as I welcome Mr. Swaroop Chaturvedi, film producer and consultant, licensing and syndications. Mr. Swaroop is an independent producer for films and originals and a specialist for syndication, licensing and distribution of films. With 2 decades of experience in the M&E sector, Swaroop started his journey of becoming a film producer with NFDC's presented Angrezi Mein Kehte Hain, starring Pankaj Tripathi and Sanjay Mishra. He consults a major producers and film studios of repute in Hindi, Marathi, Bengali, and Kannada, managing their licensing, commercials, syndications, and acquisitions verticals for opportunities across all non-theatrical platforms. Last but not the least, we are honored to have amongst us as our moderator for the session, Mr. Arfi Lamba, CEO, Bombay Berlin Film Productions and producer. Their debut motion picture LOEV premiered at Tallinn Black Nights. The Road to Mandalay was their second feature film as German co-producers. It premiered at the Venice International Film Festival and took the Fedora Award and was screened at many distinguished film festivals. Radius Trigya, the newest feature film from Berlin Film Production, had its global premiere at the Shanghai International Film Festival. I would now like to request Mr. Prithul Kumar, Managing Director, NFDC Limited and Joint Secretary of Films, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, to felicitate our panelists. Mr. Arfi Lamba take this session forward. Over to you, Mr. Arfi.
Challenges and scope of promoting festival films in SCO countries. With our eminent panelists, I'd like to start with Sunil sir. So you've actually led the path and laid the groundwork for all of us, especially when it comes to promoting Indian films abroad and taking films to festivals. It's been a long journey, and I'd like to have your perspective on how the festival films, which are our pride, which take the country and bring a name for our country, how do they fare post that? Are the festival films just for festivals, or are we able to bring some revenue out of them? What are the challenges that filmmakers are facing? Everybody wants to make a festival film, but how to exploit them? And especially with the SCO countries now, there are new markets for us. Primarily Indian films are going to European markets or to our diaspora markets, which is Australia, America, Canada. But what about SCO markets?
Thank you, Arfi. Thank you, my co-panelist. It's a privilege to be here with all of you after many months and years, perhaps. I would like to start answering your question while the sciences said that the world is made of atoms and molecules. I personally believe that the world is made up of stories. And it's so wonderful to be in this profession for about 2 decades now. I think we categorize the films according to the economics, logistics, and the popularity of the film. And some films which went to the festival were called festival films. And it was already very logical that once the film has gone to the festival, the market in India is inversely proportional to that. But well, it remains so, and it has been true to a large extent. But there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I have practiced this over 2 decades now, made about 15 films. The films that we shot in the house, the films that we did not pay anybody and only had thing. So Beja Fry was that one example that we made this in a very small budget, shot in our house. But we all bought our first houses in Mumbai thereafter. What is also happening, I would say that I think we need to look at the independent filmmakers and the people who make the films for a minority audience, need to look at it non-traditionally and non-conventional markets, and rather than hoping for to be with the tentpole films in a manner of speaking. And today's world, supported by technology and data, allows you more than what it did many, many years ago. So I'll tell you a small example that there are about 87 million Malayalis in the world. There are about 62 million Gujaratis in the world. There are over 70 million Punjabi in the world. Have we kind of cracked a formula, in a way supported by technology and the data gathering, that we somehow target those community and focus on that community, even if it is a very, very small cost? Are we able to go? So I think as far as the festival films are concerned, I think we must look for a community rather than a large piece of audience, which we'll never get. Because India as a one country is just a political ideology. We have multiple Indias within India. And it is very, very difficult and overspillage of advertising, communication, and marketing to really have one message across the country, because 60 kilometers from where I am now, the food habit, the language, the way they live, the way their socio-economic nuances and context, they continue to change all the time. So I think we need to recognize all of that. Festival films in its own, I think for a young talent, it's very, very important to be recognized. So there are some filmmakers who go west, some people who go south, some people remain here. I think it's also a matter of destiny and talent as well. But I am extremely hopeful that a non-traditional way of reaching. So for example, in many, many films that we have done, so we have done a lot of experiments. So I'll just share one or two, if not all. So we had many films which went to festivals. Most of my films have done abroad better than in India. But how do I did not make the films for them. I made it for my audience and my local language audience. So what we did is that we assembled all the IITs in the world, in India. And we really found out that there are about more than 8 to 9 lakhs students in all the IITs in India. I mean, I'm talking about alumni, I'm talking about past few years and everything. And somehow we made a kind of a project how to reach out to this 800,000, 900,000 people, and we show the film. We did not succeed to have all 800, 900. We did not even have a 2% or 1% of that. But that was a bigger than if I had aimed at a tentpole competition film exhibitions like PVR or Inoxes. I would have never found that kind of an audience. We also had a pleasure of dissecting the film, have a conversation with the film. And we kept a kind of a bowl at the end of the screening, and everybody contributed much more than they could pay at PVR or an Inox. And we really had a kind of a lot of money. I have never ever lost money in many films. I think it was this way of reaching out. Then we started this with IIM. Then we went to all the cultural institutions. Then we further fragmented if we had a French film. So there are about 9,000 French people in the country. Okay, so it was all a data-driven distribution possibilities and touch points wherever it was possible. And for example, we have a now wonderful film that is coming up called Fantastic Machine, which is based on the invention of a camera and how camera has captured the imagination of the world today. We have already booked about 8,000 tickets or 8,000 reservations on the film, which we are yet to get the delivery of. Because we reached out to Raghurais of the family, we reached out to Dayanita Singh, And we reached out to that community of the photographers in the country who love images, whether it is black and white images, whether it is sepia toned images or something. We got them all together and we have already 8,000. So in this, my break point was 3,000 people. If they had to pay about 200 rupees to me, I would break even on my acquisition and everything. I'm not going to go for advertising. I'm not going to do anything because these are the costs which is really, and I think Ashwin and Swaroop will further expand on that because they are currently very active on all of these. That the cost of advertising, the cost of reaching out to people is so expensive today. It's sometimes more expensive than the actual film buying itself. So I think somewhere or the other you have to be smart, wiser, and take advantage of technology and data with you and actually move over. Do 5 films a year, 3 films a year. It's okay. Nobody wants to be the tallest, highest, biggest. And I think that's the race we need to give up on. I think we really need to serve the audience and whatever it is. So I would say, I think these are some of the approaches that I have practiced and to my great satisfaction, and I shall continue to do so.
It's always a masterclass listening to Sunil sir. And sir, I would, towards the end of the session, like to bring the example of Lagan, how that was taken to Locarno, because I think same approach can be used with SEO countries at some point. Maybe we can talk about it now, how...
No, I think let's hear
towards
others
the end,
as
okay.
well. Thank you.
I'd now like to bring Assel and Ashwani sir into the conversation. With you, I'd like to know, when we talk about Kazakhstan, what other SEO country films do you release? Do you have any release of Indian films there? What's the market for? Like, we know that we are very popular in Russia, Indian films. You know, we have a great tradition of cultural exchange there. How is it for Kazakhstan? And Ashwani sir, I would like to know from you, from SEO countries, we are bringing a lot of Cannes and Berlin films. What's with these countries?
Hello everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you for this festival, for the organizations. It's very nice. So I'm really happy to be here and to be with... can I just say one... I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, and I just imagined that I will be in India and I will do co-production and I will be an actress. So my wish is here. So thank you. It's a great place to work and to be here because it's very beautiful country, and Mumbai it's you can just imagine to be here and be happy to live here. Your weather is very, very nice because in our country it's -25 now. So as you see, we have winter.
We are as happy and honored to have you. Thank you for coming.
Basically about your question. So it was about the festivals, yeah?
Indian films, do you see Indian films there? I know that your country's second capital has one of the biggest film festivals. How many Indian films travel there? Do Indian festival films find a release in your country? Are your platforms and public open to watching Indian films?
Basically, we have a platforms and we see the TV series, Indian TV series. Our grandmothers, they really like it, and we grow up on Indian movies. And it's very nice because for us, we have an idea to take some, maybe do musical performance as Indian people can do it perfectly because we are trying to do it now. We have a platforms, we have a festivals, international, that where you can show your movies. But I think last 2 years, we just started to work with the platforms to buy and sell, to meet with the international companies, maybe do some co-production stuff, because we are more, we don't have any private monies. That's why we have a government money, and we are giving to the production 100% for the movies. So they have to take the national, we are making national films. So for us, it's more hard to go for the international festivals because it's like our culture. But now the young people, like young filmmakers, they're trying to go to the festivals because they want to show the art movies.
Thank you. Yeah, that helps. Ashwani sir.
Hi. So basically, when it comes to releasing of films, festival films, so-called festival films in our country, what we have been doing in last 3-4 years is we have acquired a lot of content from several countries. And when it comes to taking the decision to acquire a film, there are certain factors which go into that. Particularly is we are a theatrical first company. We try to take films which we can release theatrically in the country. Because I firmly believe that the life of the film gets made when it is released theatrically, and people come to know that this kind of film is releasing all across the country. So of course we cannot release in so many states or all big cities, but at least we cover the main metros. So the basic idea is that the film should be of that stature in its home country, that people know at least something about that film in our country. Until unless that happens, it becomes difficult to acquire that film. So what festivals do is, once a film from any country, any of the SCO country or any other country becomes popular in festivals, then it gets into second festival, third festival, fourth festival. Then people start noticing about the film. Then people in India want to watch that film. That is then that we have to preempt that this is the kind of the film which can be screened in our country. Then we step in and we take the decision to acquire that film. Now, when it comes to the SCO countries in particular, so we have, say, China and Pakistan, and of course Russia and other countries. So we have recently acquired a Russian film, which is called Mira, if there's someone from Russia. So it's a film called Mira. It's a science fiction film, but it's more on a popular side of the popular kind of a film, more of a genre film, you can say. But also, since we have made a beginning in terms of acquiring film from this country, another film which we wanted to acquire was from Pakistan, which of course everyone knows, which is Joyland. So now here comes the challenges, since the title of our session is challenges in acquiring the films. So when it comes to Joyland, everyone wanted to watch the film, and it was always available for India for a quite long period of time. But there is an uncertainty as to whether we'll be able to give it the kind of release which the film really needs, because the film has already been banned in its own country. Earlier it was not. What if we take that film, we invest heavily, and we are not able to release the film? So there are certain these kind of challenges which take us a step back when it comes to certain countries while acquiring the film. So another country which I would like to mention is Iran, which is, I think, one of our countries, of observer countries, as I was told. So there have been several cases wherein of Iranian films being released in India, and there is a popularity among a certain cinephile audience who would like to watch Iranian cinema in India. And Sunil has also done several Iranian films earlier. But we have very recent history. Last year we released this film called A Hero. And the response was not that good. But then, that the life of the film was made, because first it was in Cannes. It won in Cannes. Then later on, it was also shortlisted in the Academy Awards. It didn't make into the final 5, but then that is the kind of level the film has to reach so that it gets noticed by the people in our country. And then we released it. The expectation was there, but the film didn't work at the box office. It was released in some around 35 screens or so, with 1 or 2 shows in each screen. And then what we did after that was, which we are doing with most of our festival films particularly, is we are dubbing each film into at least 3 languages. One is Hindi, Tamil and Telugu. These are the popular regional languages. So we dubbed the film into all these languages. So Hero was dubbed into Hindi, Tamil and Telugu, and then it was released on the OTT platform. So there, that is how the audience size is getting increased. Those our people those who are staying in southern part of the country, they are watching films like crazy, and the numbers are very high because of they are watching the film in their language, despite it being a film from any other country, despite it being a festival film. So these are a few of the cases which come to my mind when it comes to the festival films.
I'm going to pull Swaroop, but I'm going to come back to you, sir, regarding the challenges that we are facing with release, why a film has to go so high and only then it can come here. But you are the consultant for licensing and syndication, so I think at the right time, getting you in for, give us some information about these countries. You know, do you syndicate content that side? Are there platforms that are open to Indian films there? How's that market for us?
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so essentially, you know, when I focus on SCO, I'm going to be focusing on the Central Asian countries, and I will not be touching upon Russia for now and China and Pakistan, but the other four main countries. See, what's happened, if you go back a little, I'm a student of history, so I like to go back into history for a minute. The socio-geopolitical economic situation in the Central Asian countries has now started evolving from 2016-17, when, you know, tech and mobile technology, satellite, you know, internet, all of this started cascading all around the globe. And this market is a very new market. It is going to be an evolving market, because I got some figures out of what this market is all about. And this is a market where major broadcasters in the couple of years will have a hawk's eye, A, to invest in production because of the beautiful locations, B, that, you know, it's close for technical reasons, it's close, and C, that this particular market is now on the growth trajectory. It's going to be very steady, it's going to be very snail pace, but it's going to evolve. Now, when people ask me about rights and films and longevity, well, I must tell you something, that whatever you create, your future creators here, producers, filmmakers, it's going to live with you for 60 years or 70 years till you're alive. It's an IP that you create. It's an asset that you create, that your family inherits, and then their family inherits for the next 60, 70 years. So a lot of people get dejected that, you know, I'm not getting a deal from the so-called big ticket OTT platforms, which are global, which are multinationals, and what do I do? I mean, where do I go? I mean, am I supposed to earn some revenue, not earn revenue? What do I do? I made a brilliant film. Well, if your film is brilliant and it's traveled the market, some countries, some festival programmer, somebody will buy that movie off from you. It just depends upon the time. It depends upon how intriguing or how well positioned or lobbied your film is. Even if it's not, that's not the end of the road. There are many alternative platforms which are available to monetize. If I come back to the basics, to monetize your content, so you have a lot of ancillary rights. In case you don't get a traditional TV right or a digital right, you can go into ancillary, which is, you know, which includes surface transport rights, which includes shipping, which includes even electronic sell-through, where you can publish your own films on an Apple TV or Google, and at least get the clock ticking, where you're making some money, if not no money. There are a lot of opportunities where, if you want, you can also, you know, now social media has become a very big influence, that, you know, if you have an Instagram handle or Twitter, you want to talk about your film, you want to create a user-generated teaser or a trailer, you never know which buyer sitting in which part of the continent or which world finds out your film and takes it to its trajectory. I'll give you a small example. In 2019, there was a film which was made in Marathi called Picasso. Has anybody heard of the film Picasso by Prasad Oak? Yeah, so it was a very nice film, and it's about a small boy who loves to paint, and his father, they don't come from a very well-to-do family, and he wants to compete in Rome in a painting competition. And this young kid, the narrative is that this young kid wants to go, the parents can't afford him to send it. This movie became very viral in the social media, and it was produced by Platoon One Films, which is Shiladitya, and we took over the rights for distributing that film. So much so was the advent that it traveled to, I think, 20 festivals, won 7 awards, and finally, when Amazon was looking for a good film to partner with, which had all the right spots, Marathi, Prasad Oak, story of a nice, it was not a very somber subject. It was a very, underdog subject, which would make you smile at the end of the day. And also the consumers, because you're also talking to consumers at the end of the day when you're watching a film. They kind of onboarded that film, and it was one of the first films in Marathi which was coming from a festival market to have been premiered on a global scale, and then it won a lot of recognitions in the US. It was not a very big ticket film. So that is something that, it travels. So when you make a film, necessarily if you've not made money today, doesn't mean that you're not going to make money tomorrow or 3 years down the line, because this market is constantly changing. I mean, 7 years ago, who would have thought that, there'll be so many OTT platforms, or you can go into a DTH setup who have curated channels which dedicate themselves during Mami or during the festivals, where they buy festival films and program them. So it's basically, there is a lot of darkness in the trade, where they say that, ye chalegi nahi, ye kharidega kaun, iska buyer kaun hai. As long as you don't get disheveled with this nomenclature and you kind of find your way out, I'm sure there are a lot of rights to monetize. I mean, EST, pay-per-view, TVOD, all these models that are available in the market give a filmmaker or a producer enough room to create a window for himself to, get his return of investment, if not all.
So you're known to be a number cruncher. Would you like to give us some data, probably if you have some, in SCO countries in last 2 years, how the market has grown or how it has been?
Of course. I'm sure Assel is here. She'll probably agree that after 2017-18, when I talk about countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, these countries were basically dominated by state-owned television channels, which were government-owned television channels. There was no OTT in these countries. Now, I did some homework. You see, I like to do a lot of number crunching and homework before I come. And I had to do a lot of research talking to my friends in broadcasting companies who syndicate content in that territory, friends I've made in my 18 years of career. So there's a very interesting anecdote that I would like to share with you guys. You see, this whole market of these 4 countries put together is about 77 million inhabitants in this country. And the mobile penetration is about 135% in Kazakhstan and 118% in Kyrgyzstan, which is, when you look at it from this side of the fence, it's the telcos who are leading the charge in these territories. It's not the traditional pay TV or the linear TV or the cable TV networks which are leading the charge. Now, when this happens, there is a growth, there is a buyer who's coming into the market, because the mobile data is being consumed by these subscribers, and hence it's but natural that if you have data, you will use it to watch something which suits your palate, your mood, or your timing. Now, when I go into deep diving into this data, there's a report by Data Access which says that in the last quarter of 2022, saw 850,000 subscriptions being added on Mobi TV, which is a significant player, followed by another player which is owned by a conglomerate called Vion, who runs an OTT platform called BTV. I'm sure Assel would know. So this is a market that, and it's a privilege that I'm here on this panel when India's presidency of the SCO is happening, and we'll probably be the first. It'll become our advantage that, we discuss this here and now, and we take things forward, that how do you channelize and how do you kind of start bonding with their platforms there and start offering and start taking, content from them. It's a two-way process.
But
you
is our content already there, or are we going to open that market?
So I'll give you an example. Now, if you look at a platform called Oko, which is a Russian platform, which is a part of the SCO, they have almost 55 million users with 65,000 pieces of content, which is humongous. I mean, all these Russia CIS-based platforms and even local platforms, like even if I give you an example, there's an example that, there is KSL's OTT platform called Mobi TV, and also Vion's OTT, BTV, and there's another new platform that's come called MePlay, MEPLAY. They are all augmenting, curating films not only from the SCO region but also cross-border, which means they're also taking content from Eastern Europe, they're taking content from Western Europe. It's going to be it's just at the push of a button I can see a film. So what is important is that what you sow today is what you're going to reap in the next 4 or 5 years.
So let me open this question to all the panelists. Actually, I would like to repeat what Sunil sir said in the beginning, that if you've made a film and you actually want to exploit the film, you go by data, you find your audience, and you go by numbers. Suppose it's a French film, you find the French audience here and you exploit it. You cannot lose money. That was a masterclass, the beginning that happened. Now I'd like to open to all of, sorry sir.
Yeah. No, to all the panelists who made a contribution, but I think staying back on the topic of the thing is the challenges that we have. I think one of the bigger challenges that I see is the film literacy in our country. I mean, I think that is such an important part to play, because we don't even have a great magazine, a great communication where people actually get to know. I know that today with the World Wide Web and with all the possibilities of reaching out to the world, people have an access to information. But to harness this particular information or pride of our independent filmmakers or any filmmakers, there's nothing wrong in categorizing anybody, but our literacy on, forget about the film, but the audio visual itself there's a very big scope for improvement. I remember a few years ago, NFDC had a great, I think one of the finest magazine that we had, Cinemas of India. For some reason, we lost that magazine, and we really got to know so many things about our own regional films and filmmakers and the talent and also it's become fashionable to talk about the French and Germans and Americans and Spanish, but I don't think people are really talking about the great talent coming from Kerala or northeast of India or something, and that magazine did a wonderful thing. Second thing is also, for some reason, and I'm going to seek help of my co-panelists and to anybody here to find out, why is there so much resistance for people to pay for a good content? When suppose I show Persepolis, I was talking to Ashwani the other day. I remember that there was exactly 13 minutes of ovation at Cannes when the film was screened, and I think I saw everybody around, and everybody had tears or their eyes were moist, wet. I ran on the 9th minute to the world sales agent called Celluloid Dreams, and I said, Hangame, I want this particular film for India. Whatever it is, you are not going to sell it to anybody. With such great passion, I bought that Iranian film here. We released it in India in about 9 metros and all that. We didn't even have 546 people watching this film over 2 weeks. And when it was shown at free of cost at the IFFI and many other film festivals in India, there was no place for people to really put their foot on. Even the carpets were occupied to watch that particular film. There are a lot of, and for a country of 1.4 billion, we will be now soon overtaking China in the next couple of years. We have 9,000 screens. So imagine, we have our own 1,1600 films. We have 300 to 400 films coming from Hollywood and other foreign countries. 1,900 films divided by 9,000 screen. On a 52-week basis, the amount of pressure on that theater chain for exhibition is enormous. The NFDC, once again, many years ago, they started Akashwani at a certain point in Churchgate. They used to show all these wonderful films. We do not have an exhibition outlet. You go to Paris, you go to New York, you go to London, you go to Rome. There are destination cinemas for watching such kind of a film. So I think in terms of, to cut it short, infrastructure, literacy, and exhibition outlet are some of the challenges of the, whether it is an SCO country or something. Because we have, please remember, SCO countries, as I saw the list of the countries, stories are going to come from the conflict zone, okay? And if you, they have something new to tell about, new stories, their hardship, struggle. So you take the countries, Iran, Turkey, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan, India, all these countries had so much of conflict zone, good and bad both, and they have so many stories to tell. And I personally feel, and I am so optimistic, that in the next 10 years belong to our country, and we must tell greatest stories, whether we are part of SCO or outside of it. We have a great future of storytelling. I think we need to make our ecosystems and our environment so conducive and favorable for us to really access those. Thank you.
I'm taking a cue from what Sunil sir just said. I mean, there's a very important anecdote. You see, 2016-17, a country like Uzbekistan, liberalized the media and broadcasting sector. And since 2016-17, if there's anybody here from Uzbekistan, happy to, discuss this in detail, about 8 TV channels were launched. And they were all in the pay TV bracket. Mind you, none of them were free TV, none of them were IPTV. They were straight pay TV networks. And a few examples like Zor TV, Milli, and Sevi Milli TV. These are all television stations in Uzbekistan which have now started promoting films, not only local, but are also open to having good cinema. It depends upon, what happens also is one must understand that the tastes of people, the time, the awards it has won, what is the basic need. One needs to also understand that, just by pitching a film to a certain platform, it'll be a sure shot, deal for you. No, there are timings involved. What time are you pitching it? When is it that you're sending it out to them? Is there a need for it? You have to do a lot of research. It's just not that you hire an aggregator or you hire a consultant, but you need to deep dive and understand, what's the flavor, what's the market. Artificial intelligence throws things at you when you watch a Netflix. It's the same for a buyer. He needs to see what is working for him, what is not working for him. Are dramas, dark comedies, horror, or any of these, slice of life stories doing well for them. But this is a great indication that the SCO, which I'm targeting the 4 countries, there's a lot of scope and potential that these countries will finally start an exchange of content across the globe, because they were just limited to their circle and, for everything else, turn to Russia. But now the borders are closed. We all know what's happening there. So things are changing, suddenly, there was a spike about 6-7 months ago. A lot of Russian buyers came across to India to buy a lot of content from here because they wanted to keep their viewers, engaged with what was happening. So that's timing. But also, if you look at the flip side, countries are developing. The world is becoming smaller. There's economies which are being, gaslighted. And as a result of which the media and entertainment industry in these particular SCO nations are also growing. But they're not growing so rapidly, but that's positive.
Ashwani sir, I want to ask you something. Sorry.
I'm just, please ask me, but just continuing from what Sunil said, that for festival films, what happens is in festivals, you have all the people queuing up to watch your films. People are sitting in the aisles and watching the film, but when you want to release those films and do a ticketed event, then where is the audience? So the reason behind that is, there are 2-3 reasons why this happens is, and it happens with us all the time. What we have figured out is mostly the reason behind this is that there is a limited audience which is interested in festival films. Now that limited audience gets assembled at that particular festival venue. Then they get to watch the film because there they have paid 500 or 1000 rupees to get a pass and they are watching the film. Now when they spread and they go back to their own wherever they are staying, and you try to release the films theatrically in those small towns or big towns, there it's very difficult to reach those very people and let them know that this film is releasing. One. Two, even if they come to know, they are not ready to go and travel and pay 200 or 300 rupees to watch this particular film. Three, the piracy of the film has happened so much that these films are released in their in their home countries much earlier, and copies are there. So I have, you know, most of the time when we are releasing the film, we have people are telling us we have already watched that film. We have already watched your film. मैंने देख लिया, मैंने देख लिया. So that is what we are, hearing regularly कि देख लिया. So that is the reason why there's a limited number of people. So we need to expand this limit to a larger size. Then only people would be interested in watching the films on a bigger screen, like a ticketed event, as you said.
I'll come back to you. I wanted to ask something from Assel. You know, one of the reasons people watch films, like I would give an example of Shah Rukh Khan sir, and sir, correct me if I'm wrong. There came a time when he let all his films, the films that he had rights to, play on German television for free. The movies were continuously playing free on German paid televisions that people had subscribed. People got to know Bollywood, people got to know Shah Rukh Khan cinema, and he's got a huge fan following. We don't know much about the cinema of Kazakhstan. Would you, as a producer or the state, like to sponsor, give the whole bunch of films from Kazakhstan here so that they can play on our local televisions and people can watch more and get acquainted with the cinema? That could be one of the ways of maybe introducing Indians to that cinema, and then later on maybe they'd like to pay. And sir, I wanted to come to you also regarding one of the challenges that I heard from when you were talking was that, which Sunil sir also mentioned, that advertising cost, reaching people, it's so expensive now. So if government is, sir is not there, but if the government is to step up and say that we take care of the advertising and we subsidize that part, would that make it more attractive to bring more films from different regions?
Yeah. So, see, as far as your question regarding the government's effort in, see, advertising, see, there are several challenges when it comes to releasing these films, because your benchmarked or your expenses are same as any big Hollywood film or as any big Hindi film. So your VPF is same, your virtual print fees is same, your CDC is same, content delivery cost is same. So your all expenses are same, but your audience is not the same. So there is mismatch. So if you go to and if you ask, like recently, I wanted to play the trailer of one of our upcoming film. I asked him the budget, and you know what is the budget he gave me for some 80 screens? He said 3 times in a day, and he gave me a budget of 13 lakhs just for trailer playing. And when I said 13 lakhs, if I'm going to pay you just for trailer playing, this is not the money which I'm even going to get from the cinemas. So why should I be playing the trailer? So this is the mismatch which is happening. So, and I don't think government is in any case going to be helpful here, because there's no mechanism how they can really be helpful in this manner, because they don't have cinemas. Entire chain is now privately controlled, and it's all profit driven. And let me also tell you, we have 3 releases lined up. So what I did was I put my own trailer of my upcoming film in my recently released film, so that it can play without any charge to me. And what these cinemas then they did is, they cut it from the beginning and they said, no, we will not show your trailer. We will just show the film. Because they want money for the trailers.
The government is giving you subsidy, is giving you a censor certificate. You're expecting a lot.
What I'm trying to find out ways here, because government wants to promote SCO films here. We want to build an ecosystem.
I have an idea
the
for
beginning
that.
will happen is when they subsidize this part. Maybe that is the way to bring it.
I have
See,
one idea for
maybe
that.
I'll just button quickly. See, maybe, you know, if the free dish of the government has a very different plan, you know, the DD owned free dish, which is a government owned, you know, autonomous body, the Prasar Bharati, if it opens up and it encourages people to participate and buy films from these countries and put them up and share revenues or share ads, like, you know, what used to happen in the good old days of Doordarshan, that you buy the slot from us and all the revenue that you make on advertising is yours. We'll just keep a percentage. Why not?
I'll pull Sunil sir in. Sir, correct me, sir. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so no, my idea is not completely related to that, but what the government can do. Sir is not here, otherwise the idea is basically, first of all, what the government should, facilitate the release of these kind of films. So basic thing is, we face a lot of certification problems. So like the festival films have an exemption in festivals, right? So devise a mechanism where you can give an exemption to these films for for certification, not to be required while release. I don't know whether it is possible or not, but if you, because we got certified one film very recently, and I have to literally fight with the concerned officers and get my scene at least not chopped off, so that it people are able to see it exactly the same way. Another reason, sir, why people don't want to go is they'll say usme to cut gaya scene, it doesn't have that scene, and they want, and they, because they've already seen it somewhere, and they say वहाँ जाकर के देखेंगे वो मिलेगा नहीं, so why to go and watch it in theaters, let's watch it pirated and watch it at home. So we try to have the maximum possibilities that our film is shown exactly in the way the filmmaker has intended to. And if the film can be shown in the same manner, at least the festival films, let us categorize, okay, this is a festival film. However you categorize it, since you are showing in festivals, all the adult audience is going and seeing there. Give exemption on theater also, no? What is the problem?
Deepti, that's for you to convey. Yeah. And sir, Sunil sir, correct me if I'm wrong, CNC or media, say Europe, the entire European media, if you are taking European films and you're showcasing them in India, for distribution they give you some kind of support, right Ashwani sir? Yeah. So we can also do that if you're promoting Indian films abroad.
In fact, unfortunately, France is not part of an SCO country, but I think there is a country that we all really need to learn how much they really support and promote their art, music, culture, films, everything around the world. And what you rightly said is they give you a distribution support. Now Germany has also started, Italians have already started. I think today there are a lot more incentive, and I think to come to our rescue once again, the social media has been a great enabler for actually watching a lot of films. Travel has become very cheap. People want to explore traveling all around the world. Airbnb and the shared economy has made for a common man to travel around the world. So these are also some of the challenges as well as opportunities why people want to watch those countries in their home countries in the festival environment more than in struggling for 1.5 hours to reach PVR and pay 700 rupees popcorn for Todd. Sarah Todd popcorn and and many other things. So I think we've also made it very difficult for ourselves as well. But I am certain that we will find a way. I am extremely hopeful. As I said, the next decade belongs to us, and I think there will be only rise and rise of independent cinema, festival films, and nothing else will happen. Yeah.
What I can,
Repeat my question.
it's very just interesting discussion between us, and I'm listening to you, and it's very good experience for me as a producer, because I'm listening, and in our country we don't have distribution companies, because I think we just started, and we're as a child. I am as a child now. I think from this day I can have to learn more and more, and maybe talk with you about distribution, about the buyers, because we just, like I told you before, 2 years ago we start to work with the platforms, and it's our local movies. We do go through all the festivals, but we don't sell our movies. So it's not good for us, maybe, because I think for me as a producer, I know that the film, it's not to be successful producer and sell your movie, because it's movie, for me, we have movie language that you can show to everyone what you want to say to the people around the world. So today, it's on the screening, it's the film Paralympian. It's about the guy who lose his leg, and anyway he wants to live, and he's doing what he wants to do. So for me, it's like a body language. You don't need the language to travel and to go to the festivals because it's movie language. That's why I think I came as a producer, and I started to find all the festivals, travel, and to show our country, our culture, and the movie language. So for me, it's very interesting session. Thank you very much. That a lot of new things that I can reach from you. Thank you.
No, we hope that the cultural exchange and the exchange of cinema becomes very common between our countries, so that we can share more, we can learn from each other more. And Deepti, that thing that, that we should subsidize Indian films traveling to SCO countries, we should take it to sir. And yeah, I think I'll open the house if anybody has any questions.
Hi. Since we were brainstorming about how can we solve the challenges, something that I've always wondered. I studied very close to London and a year in London, and they have a very strong boutique cinema culture. I've made case studies, helped cinema raise money for the second screen. We have a campus here that's just waiting to develop the boutique cinema culture. We had Deepak Talkies Mattered in CFC, which is unfortunately not functional right now. We have smaller spaces like G5A and Mahalakshmi, Harkat Studios. Perhaps maybe developing these spaces more, would that help? Vikalpat Prithvi for documentary, of course, is a space, but again, that's a free space, so the money challenge bit of it.
Yeah, so this is already, as you said, someone has to take the initiative to organize that and manage that property once it develops. There's one company Pune based and one Delhi based company also, those who are doing event based cinemas, and they are open air screenings. They are hiring that place and they're regularly doing it. So that is happening, but and they are also interested in several of the titles which we distribute. So I think that has started. How much it needs to travel more, and that needs to be seen in the coming days. But it is happening. It surely helps.
Sunil sir, any plans of picking up some small chain and making it independent cinema chain? Some innovative, some new thing on your cards?
Currently, I'm involved with a kind of a startup which is based in Berlin as well as in Telangana in Hyderabad, where we are currently developing a kind of a technology where wall is a screen kind of a thing, and for people to really support to have a home cinema at home, giving you near cinema experiences at home with just a little bit of a hardware on that. And there would be a kind of a centralized bank of films possibility that you can subscribe at a very, very small rate, or you can actually work. We are actually going to work with Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Hotstar as a partners, where you would be able to enable that. Because mind you, we are going to come in a very near future, a channel of channel, streamer of streamer, because you are not going to go just to subscribe to Netflix or Amazon or Disney. I think we are going to have the best of all of these into actually, curated onto one thing. Because to go to any of this streamer today is almost like going to Food Bazaar to find out where is that one spices located in that. So you know already that what you want to watch, you have gathered about it as a kind of a review, as a peer group or through social media. So that is one thing. Second thing is, I personally feel that SWOT as a model in our country will really not work in a larger number except for one or two large players, consolidated players. I think what's likely to work is a transactional VOD or pay-per-view kind of a model, that where you really want to watch at a kind of a very competitive prices. With all these great indicators, and I think technology is the only one which is really going to help us. Imagine a few years ago, we used to always knew Tamil cinema or Malayalam cinema only reserved for few people who were, very elite and very eclectic. But today, it's almost a national cinema. Why? Because technology has made it possible to dub and subtitle it in 12 Indian languages simultaneously. So for a lot of people in Mumbai who are not really very well aware, they thought RRR was actually a Hindi film and it was not an original Telugu film. So this is what technology is really going to do. And I'm a great believer in technology, which is going to solve a lot of problems. Yeah.
Any more questions? Anyone else in the house? Go ahead.
Sorry, follow up. Because you spoke about elitism, I have a follow up question. Like, even for the spaces that we have, kind of boutique cinema spaces, they're also elite. Like, how do we break that? Like, when I go to attend a PIF in Pune, you really see a very mixed crowd. Mami's crowd earlier used to be very, very different than what it recently has become. You go to Kerala, or the stories you hear from Kolkata International Film Festival, those kind of festival spaces, those film viewing spaces, if we could set up in a boutique cinema setup, I think that's where we might just be able to, the more numbers and might bring us more tickets and in lesser costs. But like, yeah, it's a cultural conundrum that I'm kind of struggling. How can one break out of the elitism circle while trying to nurture the boutique cinema culture in Bombay? If there's any answer to that.
Yes, it's a very interesting question. I'm learning on that, and the lens on that is, I think the people in Mumbai, or the way we see it through our lens, we call ourselves as a kind of elite, even if that person has no money to see it at Harkat Studio or at Mami or any other places. I think it is just the participation and enthusiasm of the people, and that has got to do with education and literacy so much more than anything else. Here we all consider ourselves as done with as a kind of an educate, and we are literate and we are educated, and that hunger for knowing and that passion for having a conversation, I think it's all there, and more such forums has to happen. But also the city of Mumbai, or many such becomes really accessibility, and the issue of the logistic and infrastructure of the city is also an impediment, in a manner of speaking. Today, NCPA and many other places in this part of town really showed some great films, and they continue to do so. But that inertia of people coming on the west side, even for example, Deepthi was talking to us just before the session, if SCO Film Festival was supposed to happen, let's say in the western suburb, probably the crowd or the participation could have been much more different than it is today. But I stand by her, because you want to really develop this as a kind of a complex or a destination in Mumbai for people to come and identify with. And this is the complex for having all kind of exposure to cinema, to improve upon literacy. There is a museum, there is a conversation going on around the cinema. This is how it's built every year. It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. I hope I've answered your question.
I'll just add one more thing to Monica. So the world becomes smaller, first with food, second with music, and third is films. These are three things. When they go together, it's all about being inclusive. So you need to think about that also, that would you like to pair food and music with films and make it a little bit of a wider community?
Maybe we need to dip into the cafe culture with the boutique cinema.
That's how malls are going to last. So my question is for you, Sunil. You spoke about cinema literacy. You see it lacking in our country, and what exactly? Just elaborate a little bit on that. That was very interesting.
Yeah, so cinema literacy, what I mean is, first of all, the books on cinema, the magazines on cinema, the awareness about cinema. Institutions, where are the new filmmakers coming out from? There are only 2 institutes in this country which comes out with 120 students in a country of 1.4 billion people. So most of the people today, they are not necessarily, the people who are from FTII and SRFTI, they are working as a DOP and editor and the sound people more than the directors. Most of the directors, I mean, there, I'm not making any generalization. But I think for a country of our size, there are not many institutions, there are not many cultural amalgamation. For example, what Jaipur Book Festival has done for the world of books and publishing, we have yet to do, in spite of we being organizing the film festival since 1952. We've not been able to do that.
And so this question is for anybody who wants to take it. What about literacy with the execs, those who executives, those who are sitting in these big platforms and broadcasting companies, those who are buying these films? What about them? Do you really think they are up to the mark? I mean, we have very less institutes teaching people how to make films, but how about choosing films? Where do these films really go if the people sitting on those chairs are not at all?
I'm afraid.
I'll answer that question. I'll answer that question.
I'm afraid to say
I'm a
that-
film student.
that I think
I worked in a corporate for 20 years, no, 15 years. And the era was different. You must understand the era. So when the liberalization in the information and broadcasting sphere took place with when Mr. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister, and Kerry Packers of the world and Rupert Murdoch and all these people, when they came into India, when licenses were given out, most of the people who sat at positions of power were ex-bureaucrats and running the Star network or running the Australian network, and the FMCG grey flannel suit boys hadn't come into the picture. So it was not about number crunching, it was not about Excel sheets, it was about opening the market. And when you open the market, you need to have very diverse and clutter-breaking content. Now, I was a part of that phenomena because I was about 23, 24 years old, and Star was moving from a English channel to a Hinglish channel, from a Hinglish to a Hindi channel completely. Please understand that most of the top execs in these companies, which are MNCs or international platforms, they don't come from a creative or from a film school. They are all MBAs, management students, where the P&L is far important than the creative aspersions that you cast on whether the film is good or bad. So in my days at Sony, we had formulated a movie evaluation table, because that's how big companies work, that does it hit the right boxes? I mean, does it have star cast? Does it have talent? Even if it doesn't have a star cast, does it have a story? Does it have a franchise? Will there be another movie made like this? So there were a lot of parameters. So yes, when you come and when you ask this question in a forum where are all execs, no, it's a mix and blend of both, because certain platforms you'll find people who've come up the content route, who've been executive producers and creative directors in channels and are now sitting at head of content positions. At certain levels, you'll find business heads who are basically people who've come from HLL or from some, Ernst and Young. So the complexities, their thinking is very different. Though they want to capture the market, it's like every Friday, their consumption has changed. What was working 2 weeks ago is not working. It's like, okay, Oreo cookie is not working, so make Cadbury, dairy milk biscuits and put it out in the market. So that is a very straightforward answer, that it's all based on the P&L. How profitable are you?
Yeah, I understand that.
yeah.
But Sunil, don't you think cinema literacy is also required in those sectors?
Yeah,
I mean,
that is
shouldn't there be an MBA course just to, understand
absolutely.
cinema? And why is it that companies are so resistant to even send their execs to film festivals like these?
Yeah.
For example, I mean, this is their crashest course that they can get. But even then, their participation is not.
Deepti, this is a very good point. Actually, I completely agree with you. And currently, it's too early to talk about. But I think in a series of meetings with all the heads of the OTT platform, and specifically OTT, we are currently evaluating a kind of an orientation program for the people to really have from BBC Storyville coming into India, to give them thrice in a year to do a 3 weeks kind of a program to really train them on evaluating the script, understanding of the script, stories, and what is requirement of that. We successfully did this with Star TV also for David Freeman. We set up a kind of a studio there, wherein we invited about 120 people from all over India, and we paid them their monthly 50,000 rupees and accommodation in Mumbai for 9 months in a year, and they are free after 1 year of training. They are free to go and work anywhere they want. So Star invested in that. In a very similar way, we are trying to set up a kind of, with these 3 majors, and we are on the almost last mile of closure on this one. But I completely agree with you. Forget about the literacy. People don't even read a book or they don't watch, and they are sitting on a judgment of somebody's work who have done 5 to 10 years of that work. Undoubtedly, we need to make less number of films, less number of shows, and concentrate on the qualitative aspect of it. Also, that is also from a producer side, I'm saying that we need to really make less number of films, but better films.
Ashwani sir, you wanted to add something?
Almost they're covered, so basically it's same
So
thing.
I'll tell you, you know Ocean Film Festival? They used to have a magazine, Cinemaya. That was probably the only magazine that focused on Central Asia. Festival stopped, magazine stopped. There are very few, there were very few avenues like that. And sir, adding to that, I'm not from film school, but you rightly said, you can actually send people to film festivals. I learned everything from film festivals. People need to be invested into these things and into the people for them to learn. We definitely have a major drought when it comes to platforms, when it comes to people greenlighting in studios who understand cinema in a very different way. Nobody wants to put their head online for a content they believe in. The commitment to content and the integrity is lacking. It's all about, I shouldn't put my job online, right sir? I should do tick marks, green light.
I'll just give you one small example, Dipti.
Storytelling, then what is the point of films traveling to festivals and winning its laurels when nobody is going to be able to translate that?
So I'll answer one question. How many of you remember a show called The Gateway here? Has anybody seen the show called The Gateway, which was produced by Sony? Has anybody seen it? Okay, it was a show which was a little ahead of its time. I just wanted to educate you for 2 minutes. Like, why is it that the execs who say don't get into content? Well, that show was basically Project Greenlight meets The Apprentice. And a famous director from Malayalam cinema, Lijo Jose Pellissieri, is a prodigy of that show. The next person whom I can recall, because I did that show for Sony, is Bijoy Nambiar. The show was very ahead of its time because the task was, 13 tasks, and whoever wins the task goes and does a boot camp with Sony Pictures in LA and co-directs or co-produces a film with Hyde Park Entertainment. The show had 15 tasks that an aspiring director needs to go through. It was like a boot camp per episode. The only thing that we took solace in was that, okay, we were able to, in a way contribute and give Lijo Jose Pellissieri, now one of the top line directors in
that stopped. That was a good show.
Why did it stop? Well, because it was too ahead of its time. People loved the subject, but the audience was very discerning. The fragment of audience that was watching it was not converting it into ratings. And when it's not converting into ratings, you're not getting advertising. And if it's not advertised...
Swaroop, so you also did the same thing that you're countering, right? And this is what we are trying to find.
I'm telling you.
You should have stood by the show and let it continue.
No, the show went on. The show went on. But will you believe what the sales came back and said? They said that, why don't you now make it as a hunt for an actor and an actress? It's more massy. But thank you so much.
Any more questions? Yes, please.
Just to add to what Monica and Deepti were saying, and to add to what you were saying about cine literacy. See, I'm the generation which also grew up, I was the last of it, I think. Beside film festival, we were the ones who also knew there were film societies, right? Because cine literacy is not only about books. It's also having these societies where we would see it in those times, the Japanese film, there were these centers which were running these films. So my suggestion also, along with this, of course, the haircuts and everything, if we are to create those communities and societies, they could be online ones. And I think, many of you sitting here are in a position because you are the distributors, you are acquiring, you are in decision-making, we are independent producers. What about, also feeding into this culture of film societies, which will prepare your future audience? Or your future decision makers, because I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Doshi, but again, we are talking about, educating, getting a few people, boot camping, getting workshops, all inputs from outside. While many of us here, as Arfi is also saying, we are coming from film festivals. We watch obscure films in film festivals, and we developed a love for films.
I'll get to that, sir. You'll of course answer. Just to add to this. film societies, as you said. So we released one film last year, and we are getting almost requests from so many small cities like Raipur. So there they have a film society. We said that, look, we can give you the film, but we need at least minimum number of people that you have. So they worked again, and they said, okay, we are able to get 150 confirmed people, those who want to watch the film on a big screen. I said, fine, you did a lot of good work, but then even your 150 doesn't make financial sense to me, because even if I have to release one film there, I cannot release one show. It has to be 7 shows, and the cost of releasing the film there does not, it does not helps them to release the film. It doesn't help us. So that is one reason why we are not able to do that. We know people are there. People are asking films in Bhubaneswar, and in so many small cities they are asking. We can't release your. These are small. I am telling you, people are asking films in Jaipur, Agra, but I cannot release them because right now also we have, what we are seeing is, we release the film in Calcutta in a mall, in a theater like Quest Mall, where you have a capacity of 150. 2 people are sitting and watching the film. So many theaters, 2 people, 1 people, 5 people are sitting and watching the film. But your question as far as the film society is concerned, yes, definitely there are many film societies. There are people in Ahmedabad and all, they requests keep on coming to us. Every small city has got a film society, but to service them is another task.
Ma'am, if I may answer your question. No, thank you very much for asking that question. I'm a product of a film society. I started, nobody in my family was into cinema. They thought I was crazy, but I did that. I think the time and dispositions have changed considerably. The very logistic, for example, we used to be a member of a film society in 100 rupees a month kind of a thing, and we used to watch 5 films, 6 films in it. Today, to get an auditorium, so when I talked about infrastructure, that time it was also a possibility today. So the wall is a screen idea, and home theater also started with that thought that, okay, if you like the film, you have a freedom to do that. Today, online technology has made entertainment so much accessible for people to really not even going to theaters and consume some kind of independent films on Mubi or a Criterion channel, wherever that you are located in the world. There is a possibility for people to really have those kind of films. But today, to have, in a way, a film society or an online, now online, there is a movie platform, there is a Criterion channel, there are lots of films actually residing in Netflix, Amazon and Disney and Sony and Wood combined together for you to watch. But it is just that it's not on top of your mind. Your 24 hours are shrinking and shrinking, and it is so much of demand on you for all kinds of things. But if you really want to go and watch one Parasite, even if it is in Lower Parel from Mira Road, people will come and do that. It has now become a very individual choices. Mobility, infrastructure has also become an issue. At that time, 15, 20 years ago, when Film Society were in a great flourish, but there are still some places, cities, towns in India where this culture is still going on. And whenever any film society has ever asked us a film, we have never charged them, nor we have asked them any question if the film has already finished its logical exploitation cycle. If the exploitation has not happened, of course we ask them on a hold on kind of a thing. We also never charge any film festivals to really, we take the fees to show our films for the audience of the film festival, because I think these are not the reason that we were in the business. So it has become challenging for a film society to exist at this point of time. It would be cheaper on Tuesday to go to PVR and watch a film than to start a film society today.
No, but Anjali, it's the same fight, that we have to do at the ground. We cannot stop. We have to fight for the film societies. Like sir said, I'm sure any producer, any distributor, once they've done the logical cycle, would be very happy to give the films. The point is that film societies are not that active. Like sir said, it's become very individual choice. People are so much busy on their mobile phones. This device is not letting them go to have other activities. That's very important to have. That's a very good educational model that we should get back to. Yes, we have to innovate that, that's dying.
Yes, I beg to differ on that, since you mentioned logistics is a challenge, right? So how do you justify a Mumbai Film Festival being located in Andheri itself and not there in maybe a Vashi or a Thane? You know, you are not really reaching out across locations.
Well, and they started metro now. And and second thing also, what has happened for a festival organization, Mumbai as a city, now that Dipti was telling me that this destination has a lot of infrastructure, but there are no places in the city of Mumbai to really, for people, if I go west, people in south of Bombay feel that, or in Vashi feel that we are ignored. They also did it at NCPA, metro at a certain point of time. Then again, the people from the western suburb and eastern suburb found it very difficult to do that. See, unless you have a kind of a Siri Fort kind of a thing, earlier it used to be Vigyan Bhavan, or now in Goa, so, or now what Dipti and NFDC were telling me, they are planning to make this as a, it will take certain time for festivals to really grow. It is not just the venue and the destination, it's the quality of the films that comes, the people who attend your festival, there is a market and trade possibility. So there are multiple factors today to make something very good in terms of logistic mobility and for people to really be attracted to come to your destination. I hope I have answered your question somewhat.
Yeah, I get.
Yeah, thank you.
Here we come towards an end of this very insightful session.
We've been, without even us saying that we are ending the session, we've been told to end the session, so we'll take it. No, yeah. I must thank all the panelists and thank you to all of you. मैं कर दूँ इससे पहले हमको निकाले. Thank you so much for bearing with us for so long. It was an absolute pleasure. Please, you can do the concluding remarks.